making high density housing more sustainable is absolutely essential. And I think those fears are ill-founded. I have two jobs. I'm a professor at University of Otago, where I work on public housing evaluations, but I'm also on the board of Kāinga Ora. And I can say, I'm not speaking for Kāinga Ora, there's a huge amount of effort going, because it's Kāinga Ora homes and communities, into making sure those communities are everything that Guy was just talking about Māori kaupapa. There is space around for the children to play, so they don't have to cross roads to get to parks. There's a concern for privacy, there's a concern for noise. They have top architects, top urban planners. So I think you do see some terrible sort of cookie cutter stuff, but that's generally private developers trying to get as much space, as many houses as they can on a piece of land. So I'm very proud of the not just the quality of the housing, but the urban design. And at the same time, of course, people see the houses, but underneath these new developments, there's big pipes that can take the extreme rain that we're going to have and make sure that it doesn't just flood and mix with the sewage over everything. So those homes have got the right foundations, built very well. And I think what we need to do is make sure that we have actually thinking about fires, potentially fires with this thing, making sure that there's enough space between them, and that the materials that are the next door houses, there's no way that it can pass along. And I think the government's very conscious about that. And there's a lot of care and attention given to that. And we actually have to do it. I was just flying into Christchurch the other day, and I was seeing, all these houses, just single houses on spaces going all over the farmland. And I mean, that is completely crazy. In Auckland, the fertile soils are around the south and the west there, and that's where private developers are building houses. It's completely crazy to cover our most productive land with concrete. So it's for food supply, for making sure that there's a permeability so that water can go into the ground. We have to design with greater density, and they're as far from ghettos as you can possibly get. I mean, it's worthwhile going and, to seeing what some of these community houses are doing, some of the Otatahi ones. What's happening in Auckland and what's happening in Wellington. It's a kind of what was I going to say? It's just a dismissing of what is necessary, and it's done in the best possible way. So there's a lot of work goes into kind of talking to the community. This is what's going to be. There's going to be supported tenancies. People are linked to marae and to churches, and with the community agencies. There's a great working between those local solutions and this money coming from the government. Unlike schools, I mean, when the government changes, it's not like people will sell off all the schools and say, oh, everyone should go to private schools. There's an agreement in the country that we need to keep public schools because they're really important for how children grow up. But somehow housing, affordable public housing, has got into a category where, oh, that's terrible, the government shouldn't be in that area. So I'm getting a bit political here, but the previous government, sold off 10,000 houses. So, and they said, well, if it's owned by people, that's going to free up other houses, but it doesn't work like that in terms of the income-related rents are like 25% of your whole household income. It was great for the people who bought them because they got all the capital gains. So it's a way of shifting money to people who are better off, and then you can say, oh well, if we don't we don't need to build any more houses so we can lower taxes. And so that the work I do is showing with my colleagues about what public housing offers to the tenants and to the communities. They're well designed, well managed, they're by public transport, they're near parks, and so that gives people a much higher quality of life. And we're looking around different ways that they're configured with church groups, like Salvation Army or Dwell in Wellington, which is a community of good souls who got together, or councils, or Tatahi, or Wellington Council, which is now in a trust, with Tamaki Regeneration, which is a whole big thing in East Porirua. So we're looking at people can do things in a different way, but they all need taxpayer government funding underneath, because it's not just housing, it's what's underneath the ground. And unless we do what's underneath the ground, we're just going to have flooding everywhere. So this is a really, really important job to get our housing and the civil engineering right. I think that they're complementary. They have their fingers on things locally in the way that they can track people around and know people. So that's irreplaceable. But there is also a role for the government agencies to understand what issues they're dealing with. So I think it has to be a partnership. And I think if we start getting in, clear out and we can do it all by ourselves, but actually, even if people are doing it themselves, they need some capital, some infrastructure. And last time it was all, let's get rid of Housing New Zealand and we'll just have the community place. That lasted for a while, and then they didn't have any capital to actually maintain them. And so there's been negotiations sort of buying some of those back. It costs a lot of money to maintain a house, even if it's built well in the beginning.